Hey there, Business Freedom Podcast listeners. Today you are in for a treat. I've got Misty, and it really is her last name, Soldwisch, out of Des Moines, Iowa. Best name ever for real estate. And Misty's going to share the good, bad, ugly today. And Misty, you know, as you're one of our listeners and a Real Estate B-School member, are you prepared to share the good, the bad, the ugly about your business growth journey?
Absolutely.
All right, so give us like a couple minutes on you, your background. How'd you get into real estate? You know, I know you have a team, you have a brokerage. Kind of give us a flavor of you and where you're coming at all of this from.
Yeah. So I got into real estate in 2000, and I had always done sales jobs as through high school, through college, and after college. I sold furniture and jewelry and all of those different things. And had thought I was going to go on the path of being a French teacher. So my degree is in French. But then I had loved all the jobs that I'd had during school. And I'm like, you know what? I know I have the most income potential as a salesperson, and had a dream for a few years of getting into real estate. So in 2000, when I had an 8-month-old and a 2-year-old, I thought that was the perfect time to get in. And I operated as a solo agent for 7 years in a very traditional way. I was a top performer at my company, but didn't have an assistant, just worked really hard. And then had a light bulb go off one day that the way that I'm going to control my future is by doing my own thing. And so really on a whim, honestly, within a 6-week period between when I decided to do it, I opened my own brokerage. And I opened it with a partner, learned a lot of lessons from that. We were only partners for about a year. But then, so I've had my own brokerage for 11 years, started building a team around 6 years ago.
Okay.
So have really progressed in different ways.
Yeah, and just so we hook the listeners, how many homes have you sold? Like, what's the total number of homes just your team has sold in 2016, 17, and 18 combined?
Oh, combined, like around 1,100 in the last 3 years. Yeah.
That's awesome. So that's all we need to know. So, someone who just 6 years ago started their team, sold like jewelry whenever you sold jewelry to the point where you're running a multi-million-dollar business.
Yes.
So, and I like to say that, when I do these case studies, it's, it just takes, making the right moves and sort of not giving into the fear that's prevalent in our industry to be able to build this thing. So that's really awesome. As you kind of consider, like, just the last 6 years, has there been like a motivational quote or like something that's kind of been sort of in the back of your mind that's kind of keeping you going to build this team?
Well, I think it's more the philosophy of what I want my salespeople to bring to when we work with clients, and then it also is how I need to be as a leader as well. And it's all about, I am by nature an introvert. I love, like, when I'm in a crowd, I'm always sitting there listening and just taking it all in. And I think that's what can make a really great salesperson, when you listen more than what you talk. And so a quote that we talk about as a team a lot is, wisdom is the reward for a lifetime of listening when you'd preferred to have talked. And that's by Doug Larson. And I think it's so easy to get in the trap as a salesperson of just trying to fill the space by just, if I keep talking, I'll figure out something that connects with them. And I think as a leader, it's best to spend more time listening to what people need. And as a salesperson, it's better to listen than to tell.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and I suffer from that at times. I think my wife will agree too. So let's chunk down, you're a solo agent like 7, 8 years ago to making the decision to build a team, and then the 2 or 3 sort of chunks of growth, whatever that means for you. Let's break down the the shift from just production to leverage through people, what the first hires and mishires and systems or no systems or organize. Let's break down that first initial sort of mindset shift and the first couple hires, and how did you manage all of that? What did your day look like? Was it stressful? Were you prepared? Break it down for us.
Well, I feel like, you know, I because I opened a brokerage first and it was very small, and I was really operating with the administrative staff supporting what I was doing for my business, and then a little bit with the other agents that were there. And 2007 was when I opened my own brokerage, when the real estate market was really spiraling downwards. And so I made the strategic decision to really focus hard on building REO inventory. And to be great at REO, you have to be really organized with systems. There's a lot of data entry, there's a lot of reporting. And so I right away started leveraging with the office coordinator that was doing the books and all of that, but then also getting administrative help with virtual assistants. And I really feel like that helped prime me for being good with team systems, because I was already doing everything in a systemized way just for my own business.
Awesome.
So, and then in my brokerage with a bunch of different independent agents, what was happening was I was referring out overflow leads, that sort of thing, and just found that while it was a good way to keep agents busy, there just wasn't the culture of everyone having the same goal and the same vision that I did. And I had the most say in what happened to those leads when I had that with someone that was actually working collaboratively with me instead of an independent agent. So around 6 years ago, had someone that worked in my brokerage that just started working as a buyer's agent for me. And then my sister-in-law, my husband's sister, Renee, came on around the same time. So right away, kind of had 2 buyer's agents, and then worked from there. Now I have, with my husband and I, there's 18 licensees on my team, and then 4 administrative assistants that are not licensed.
Okay. In that first, so you started building your team really in 2011, 12?
12. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So talk about only 15% of our industry even has one assistant. And
Right.
so I think there's so many agents that would benefit from even like a small team. What would you, let's break down like the need for hiring a licensed assistant, a couple buyer agents. Like, what challenges, what obstacles did you face in all of that? Or were you just so confident that it was the right thing to do because all these indie agents just didn't do crap with your leads? Like, what was the real motivation, and how did you go through that?
Well, I saw what it was like when it was just like handing it off to someone that was just happened to be there at the time, but really wasn't committed. But I think one thing I really struggled with early on was, I had one person that was a buyer's agent that's still with me, my sister-in-law Renee, who is obviously very loyal, very dedicated. She moved from a different city to come work for us, and so she was all in. And so it was like, oh, everyone's going to be like that. Then it was kind of feeling like, gosh, we're so busy, but I need to convince people why they would want to be in this kind of structure. And so made a lot of bad choices of people that really weren't a fit for a team, but were really more in it for what I could hand off to them rather than being part of the experience.
Yeah. And so when did you make the shift to realize that it's not, that culture is important, and, that you need to surround yourself with people that are going to respect that and treat your clients or their clients the way that you would want them to be treated? How did that transition look for you?
Well, I mean, it was hard. I mean, you know that that's the right thing to do, and then there's the reality of, oh my gosh, like 25 leads came in today. We can't keep up with it. And so it was something that it it was not something that happened quickly. It was something that really took time, and it took me stepping back from, I'm really great at being the practitioner in the business and just getting in there and getting things done. But I really had to step back and say, this is really what I want, because I don't want to be frustrated every day because someone is just being who they are and it just happens to not be a fit for what I'm looking for.
Yeah. When you look back on, the last 6 or 7 years, what are some, and I think it's something that, I think in general, in the world, a lot of people aren't like going on Facebook and sharing their failures.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the defining moments, the failure points where maybe you questioned if what you were doing was the right thing, or, looking back over the last 6 or 7 years, what were those failures that we could learn from?
Um, you know, honestly, I think that the the biggest thing that has shifted for me in the last year to 2 years has been that I really spent, I kind of divide, I'm 46, and I like really feel like when I turned 40, it was like, I had all these things that I hadn't gotten done and I need to get it done now. And both on a personal level and on the business side. And I really feel like I spent my 30s just working, like getting up at 4 every morning, going to bed at midnight, just living, breathing really real estate and doing really well at it. But letting other things go as a result. And so then the last 6 years continue to do that, but leveraging through my team to have a little more time to like step back and be able to see what's happening. But I feel like my biggest failure has been that I didn't spend enough time focusing on my marriage, focusing on what I wanted for myself, and just instead like going. And so I've had to really step back and learn from that in the last couple of years, and I'm glad that I have.
Yeah. What yeah, and it's one of the things, when I'm trying to think of when I was in, so I hired my first agent in 2009, and it kind of like Anders was 2, and I know I gave away pieces of my life that I wouldn't have had to if I was in a corporate job. And I was doing it for this sort of future trade-off. We're always making that trade
Yeah, absolutely.
with the future, and it's the future. Like, you never know if it's going to pan out, and you have people around you that are, kids and spouses, and your friends are like, really, you're going to work like another weekend? And
Mhm.
you just have this vision for yourself. What was the most difficult part of making those trades, outside of any potential regrets or any collateral damage from it? But what were some of the trade-offs that you made, and how did you get, because it is like, that quote, like, entrepreneurship is trading a few years of your life, or living a few years like most people won't, so you can live the rest of your life like most people can't.
Mm-hmm.
What were those trade-offs for you, and what do they continue to be for you?
Um, well, I think that the the trade-offs that I've made is that my kids, they know that the business is something that's very important to our family, and that I have to set aside things to be able to take care of things in the business. And sometimes it's like, oh, Mom, I can't believe you have to do this again. And yet at the same time, like my kids were home from college, my two oldest ones, at Thanksgiving, and my son, who's a freshman this year, um, they were talking about something, and he was like, I have the best example of a strong woman in my life, and I just know that so few people have that. And I'm like, oh, okay, I did do trade-offs, but he's proud of me. And so, it's different from the traditional mom image that we all have, and can feel a lot of guilt about. But at the same time, it's some good lessons that you can give those kids at this that they can learn from.
Yeah, and it's yeah. So this is not a me thing. My parents divorced young, and my mom took care of us. She was a business owner, and
Mm-hmm.
I see it. I mean, obviously, because I coach real estate agents, but females specifically have such a not a bad rap. That's not like you're expected to kick ass in the business. You better get to the supermarket like to make sure food's on the table, and then
Right.
like the laundry still has to be done, the house still has to be clean, and you need to take care of the 57 details around the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And like I see that kind of across the board, and it's not a good reflection on men in general. Um, but it's like, how do you? I don't even know if there's a question in here, except to acknowledge that I just think it is not the norm for a woman to be successful in business because you have this whole other expectation of you in all these other areas of your life, which I do as well, but it's not the same for women.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, I think it's really interesting how real estate is one of the few fields that it's truly like women overall. There's such a huge representation of females in the real estate workforce that are doing really well. But as you go up to the higher producing tiers, it just becomes so much more male dominated. And the dialogue of the real estate industry is so male dominated. And and I think a lot of it is, yeah, that expectation that women put on themselves of, you know, that sounds great, but I don't want to appear like I'm not doing enough for my family if I'm super, super successful in this way.
Yeah. I forget her name. What's the girl wash your face? Rachel Hollis. Have you read that book?
I haven't, but I've heard a lot about it.
Yeah, so she spoke live at an event I was at recently, and it's like all the shit she took because she was going to take the same path that you're taking, like building a business
Hmm.
from not direct family members, from in-laws, from friends, from like So I just think it's just a additional pressure that you've had to fight through to be able to build this thing. When you look back on your entire professional career, um, what are some of the like one or two like ahas that you can like maybe encourage somebody who's going to go down this path, um, that might make it easier? Maybe you saw the world differently or you broke through a tough obstacle. What are some of those moments for you, those moments of truth?
Well, um, a couple weeks ago, Alex Charfin had in his, like, I don't know, he'd sent out an email about a podcast he did, And I think this is so true that like entrepreneurs have an extremely high tolerance pain. And that's what makes us successful because we can take it, we can push through the fear. But that also makes us tend to get into relationships that don't work out so well, and we hold on to it too long because we can take the pain and we think we can fix it. And so I think that was a big aha for me. I hold on to people that aren't working for our business way, way too long because I just think I could just coach them. It's something that I need to do different to help them get there. And if only I can like present it to them in this way, then it'll click. And, I am a big believer now that, and it applies to sales as well. I mean, you can't want it more than they do. And just like when our salespeople are out with clients trying to talk them into doing something, if they aren't there, nothing you say is going to get them there. And if someone really doesn't have the motivation to do the best they can in this type of position, which is really hard. I mean, real estate is not an easy world to be in. Nothing I can do is going to make that difference. They have to first want it, and then I can coach them.
Yeah. And if it broke up a little bit for me, but the thing you said was that entrepreneurs have a high tolerance for pain.
Yeah.
And so I think that's right. I mean, it's part of what makes it successful, but the dark side of it is that, yeah, we can withstand like enduring pain,
Yeah.
and not see that it's easier to just eliminate that source of pain.
Mm-hmm.
Let's dig in a little bit to the business. We always get questions about like lead sources and, what have you tried that's failed miserably?
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about that. What are some of your really great lead sources, and where have you just failed, on some lead sources that didn't pan
out? So, I do radio and television advertising, and that was a big game changer for my business. I felt like it really went well with the fact that I had come off of being a strong REO agent, that I really prided myself on treating REO properties exactly like I did resale listings, with professional photography and really making the experience good for people. So I had a lot of signs in the ground already. But that was just something that really helped leverage something where I already had some moderate name recognition, and having that really be leveraged. But it took a lot of time, and that was really scary, the investment that's made to get there. I don't know that I've had particular lead sources that have been huge failures that I've made big investments in. But I think one thing that it took just a lot of time to figure out, and I feel like we really broke through with in 2018, was breaking down our process to have an inside sales department and really, really focusing on making them great and getting our processes down. Because I did spend a lot of money having the wrong people in that department earlier. And so it doesn't matter how many leads you have coming in if the people handling them aren't doing anything with them or aren't following up with them correctly. The best lead sources turn out to be really horrible if you're not doing anything.
So let's deconstruct that. What are the few things you can teach us that you've learned about lead follow-up, lead management, training on scripts, cadence? Like what are the few things that we can learn from what you've learned this year with Inside Sales?
Well, first of all, I mean, I know that different teams have different methodologies of kind of that path of inside sales and like going through and kind of moving through the team. I felt like I had a big game change when I no longer had people go into that department that really wanted to be a buyer's agent or a listing agent or something else, because I felt like people that were in that position, it was like they were doing time when they were in client services. Like, oh, this is horrible. I don't want to be making these calls, but I reluctantly will because it's my only choice. When I made the shift to having like, this is where they want to be, and this is what their goal is, and they want to make this department amazing, and they love the setup of being, we call it a client services associate. It just clicked after that. It just became, it became a game changer for, I mean, our production is up about 15% over last year, and I know it's because we've made those changes, and it's, I know that it's going to be great for next year as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Talk about your philosophy with recruiting. And I kind of know some of what you're going to say, so I'm reading a little bit because we've swiped and deployed the stuff that you're doing, which is awesome. But 2 to 3 years from now, talk about what you're doing now and how you see the future of attracting people to your team.
Yeah. So I have the approach of doing a couple different things. I do regular monthly meetings where we invite people to hear about our team and what our philosophy is. And then on top of that, we also have put a lot of effort into having collaborative events in our local real estate community. So our meet and greet events are both for people that aren't in the real estate industry or people that are and are just curious how we work. But then our coaching events are for people that are actively in our industry. And, you know, it's not just for recruiting. It's also, you know, when you are kind of a top dog in the market, you know, you kind of have a target on your back, and people love to like kind of badmouth you and make assumptions that, like at our real estate banquet for our board last year, they made a joke about me because I don't answer the phone when someone calls the number on my sign. And like, oh, Misty Soldwisch, it's hard to get a hold of her. Well, it's because I have a team of amazing people. And so, you know, people just make these assumptions that because you have a successful business, that somehow you're like not, it's annoying. So I like for people in our local agent community to see me talking about how we do things and what our philosophies are, how my team works, because it creates a lot of goodwill. And when there are people that that just aren't making it on their own, but would be great in a team setting, then I'm here in front of them. And that really, over the years, my most successful situations have been when agents have been agents on their own, and they know that pain of how hard it is to be successful, and then see the abundance that we have on our team.
Yeah. And I've got 2 stories for you. One, I'm going to pull up the actual number so I can tell you. So, and you do like workshops and meet and greets, right? Alternating some sort of cadence of that.
Mm-hmm. And I moved from doing, I do in-person business planning workshops, and then I also do online workshops like Facebook Lives.
Oh, awesome. Tell me more about that.
So a couple weeks ago, we did a lead conversion workshop, and it was myself and then someone from my client services department that we talked about just the conversations that you have with people and follow-up and systems and that sort of thing. And it was a good introduction for people to, like, you know, when you're a solo agent, this is how it works. And on my team, this is how we have it set up.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
One story. So yesterday in our team meeting, we did a group interview with a guy locally here. that will sell 50 homes, and there's like 12 of us interviewing them, and ask the question from one of our team members, like, why would you, like, you're successful, like, why would you want to work on our team? He's like, it is exhausting. He's like, the money's not great, and it's exhausting, and I'm up at 5:30 and I'm loading all my lists into Mojo. I'm physically visiting FISBOs because they won't answer the phone. I'm working to 7:30 every night, every weekend day, and I mean, like you said, two things. This is in front of our whole team, which is
Yeah.
awesome.
Right.
And like, here's a beyond conventionally successful agent. And that's the whole, like, conventional success sucks. But a success story for you to share, swiping, and this is just an encouragement for everyone listening, that adding value to your market is really, it's content marketing. It's every other industry now is sort of succeeding in this way. It's like, it's straight up Gary Vaynerchuk, his, all of his stuff, right? It makes him attractive and you want to follow him. And, but we hired an agent on our first workshop that is in his 6th week. And in the last, so he just finished his 6th week, and we've already signed $600,000 worth of business from appointments we've set.
Yeah.
And he's new to real estate. And so, not only is it good for the industry, it's like, it's actually good.
Yeah.
So it's really, really cool. All right, a little off track there, but let's see, what else do I have? What are you most excited about? I usually say, what are you most excited about the future of your business? But given the shift, what are you most excited about for your business?
I've been through a shift before, and that's where I really grew. And I know that I know that I can work hard, and now I know that I have the right people that bring that as well. And I know that we have the systems and the service and the knowledge to be able to best serve people during a shift. And so, anyone can sell a house when things are easy, and being good at helping clients understand the market, that's where people really build trust. And I love, people that I helped through really rough equity situations several years ago, coming back now and being in a great equity situation with their new place. And I know how much dedication they have to me from doing a great job during that time, and that's just going to help our business explode. And
Yeah.
I'm such a big, I love coming up with ideas and thinking of how things can be done different. And so that makes me really excited.
Awesome. So we have reached the lightning round, and so I know you've heard this before. It's just going to be like rapid fire questions with like a 1, 2, 3 word answers, just whatever
Okay.
comes to your head. So what keeps you up at night when it comes to your business?
Worrying about money.
What were you most afraid about when you started to build the real estate team?
Would they like me?
What's the best advice you've ever received about business?
Oh, geez. I think it's the you can't want it more than they do.
Okay. How about like a daily or weekly habit that you believe contributes to your success?
I am just constantly, I really track ideas, and I really and go back and revisit things on a regular basis. And I just don't like to let things fall through the cracks. And that's just through regularly on a weekly basis, making sure that I'm stay on top of those ideas and things that need to happen.
Yeah. What's the Peter Drucker quote? It's like a a business's like marketing and innovation. And I feel like in real estate there is literally no innovation, it's why it's awesome to be in our industry.
Mhm.
All right, so what's one book you'd recommend for our listeners that might be on the front end of this business building journey?
Well, um, you know, I I think it's really not a business book, but it's more of a like personal development slash spiritual book. And it really had, I mean, it really applies to my team so much and my approach with the people that work for me and with me. It's The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And just the be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personally. That's a huge one. Don't make assumptions and always do your best. That's so powerful.
Yeah, that's really good. Um, if you had to do it all over again, what would you do differently?
Start a team earlier.
I like that one. How about what should you have shared with us that you haven't?
Well, I mean, I think that a big thing that we've talked about, Lars, is my husband works with me, Keith, and that has been wonderful in a lot of ways and really painful for us in a lot of ways. And I kind of touched on just that I should have spent more time working on my marriage during the time of like big business growth and everything. And I think it's one of those things that it can be extremely rewarding to work with your spouse because you know that no one has your back or has the same goals, the investment in making things happen as your spouse. But it's just make sure that you're really dedicating time to each other and marriage therapy is really valuable for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I mean, people think like marriage, I mean, I did marriage coaching this year and
Uh-huh.
it's like, why wouldn't you have a coach for the most important relationship in your
Exactly. I mean, and it's just like any other kind of coaching. I mean, you can get in each other, you can like not see what's happening. Having that perspective is super valuable.
For sure. So as we kind of wind down here, even I mean, we're coming off a really awesome run in real estate, and we're heading into a shift. I mean, we're already there in a lot of ways in Charlotte. A lot of agents are going to enter a period of struggle and this pinch. And what words of encouragement would you have for our industry right now?
I think it's so important to be open to doing things different and open to opportunities that you wouldn't have been an obvious choice for you. Um, I feel like in the last shift, like I sold so many homes that were under $10,000 that were 90 minutes from my house or more, but it was getting systems together and just making things happen. But I know that helped make things happen where we are today.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, when I think of how awesome our agents have it now compared to when I
My
was,
gosh.
I cried 2 weeks ago at a team meeting talking about like my first 3 years in real estate. I'm like, you guys have no idea. Misty, I am one of your biggest fans. I think you kick ass. I think you roll with the punches. And I know there's only one way for you, and it's forward no matter what's in your way. I know Real Estate B School honors you and thanks you. I know our listeners are going to be super excited. We've gone sort of a little bit longer than we usually just because it's been really, really valuable. So thank you so much for your time. And for everyone listening, just go out and find a mentor, learn something, do something consistently enough to get some traction and momentum in your business so you can ultimately build this business to support a life by design and to support your team and build something amazing. So thanks a lot, Misty. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.